Well, good afternoon, everybody. Hello, and thank you for having me here today. Thank you, Deborah. We're living in such exciting times of both tremendous challenge and opportunity on this particular topic. The scale and speed of workforce displacement during the times we're living in requires the combination of efforts, I believe, from all three sectors, academics, business, and government, to work together to give everybody an opportunity to participate in the digital economy. I believe companies have a social and economic incentive to train and develop their workers, especially in this fourth era of the Industrial Revolution defined by increasingly efficient technologies and rapid change. Some of the facts that I feel both inspired by and frightened by, Bank of America just did a study where they talked about, and there's other studies on this, 47% of the current jobs in the U.S. are at risk of being displaced over the next 15 to 20 years, 47%. And highly skilled jobs aren't immune. BCG, McKinsey have done studies. McKinsey estimates $5 to $7 trillion, $5 to $7 trillion in wages could be saved by computers as they become more capable of completing tasks traditionally done by people, such as analyzing computer credit ratings and consumer data. There's going to be massive shifts in desired skilled. The World Economic Forum interviewed chief HR officers and leading global employers, and they predict a major shift in desired skills over a five-year period, which in my life is pretty short. Now, I've been asked to talk about diversity and the call for diversity in terms of fueling the future in our nation. I've been doing this for 35 years, and the research shows that bringing diverse perspectives to the table increases companies' resiliency, agility, and boosts financial performance over time. BCG has looked at that, McKinsey's looked at that, PwC has looked at that, the World Economic Forum's looked at that, many companies looked at. I don't feel the need to make the case for diversity improving the bottom line. Today in the United States, 57% of bachelor degrees are awarded to women, by and large about the same as it was 25 years ago. 11% are held by African Americans, which is about 1% higher than 25 years ago. 13% are held by Latinos, which is about 7% higher than 25 years ago. So 25 years ago, we had this great diverse group. So these graduate degrees, unfortunately, don't match the profile of the part of the business sector I'm in, financial services, nor the business sector overall. Despite the fact that companies have spent tons of money to push diversity, the numbers are still, in my opinion, wholly inadequate, despite the fact that we've made some progress. So today, women in the workforce, let's just look at CEO roles. In 1980, it was I used 1980 because I graduated that year. I was 12. Anyways, in 1980, 0.4%, whatever that means, of CEOs in the United States were women. Today, it's 7%. African Americans was 0. Today, it's 1%. Pardon me? Oh. In 1981, I don't have a figure for this for 1980, 0.2% of Fortune 500 CEOs were Latino. Today, it's 2%. I think that's progress, but not something I can certainly get excited about. So basically, from my perspective, things haven't really changed that much. And it isn't a function of just getting started. It's a function of something not working. If we believe that diversity really does improve the bottom line and is critical for innovation and change, which for me personally seems irrefutable, what more do we need to do? My strong belief is that if we don't bring these groups into the fold in senior levels, we'll risk falling further behind. We clearly, from the numbers, haven't made enough progress. Talent and diversity of thought in these groups are so underrepresented in financial services, which negatively impacts the rate of innovation, change, and competitive advantage. Our country's population is only getting more diverse. It's also living longer. That, in conjunction with the reskilling and retraining, creates tremendous challenge, but also tremendous opportunity. From my perspective, one of the critical components to meet these challenges and opportunities will be unlocking greater diversity of thought through the power of inclusion. Now, when I look back, I grew up in the Dykeman Housing Street projects in the upper part of New York City. And evidently I was poor, but I didn't know it at the time. And quite candidly, I didn't know where I was raised that There were issues with gender. I had 5 brothers, 4 sisters. Trust me, my brothers had to do just as much as my sisters. Race, we had people from all over the globe. Religion, we had people from Cuba, Greece, Holocaust victims, people from Germany. It wasn't just diverse, it was inclusive. It was a community where people helped each other. So in the early days, when I first went to Morgan Stanley, and I saw how many women there were, et cetera, I thought we should start looking at diversity. And I was told, why don't you go and make the business case for diversity? I thought, geez, why don't you make the business case for homogeneity? I was like, what? Only to understand that it was me that wasn't seeing things. So many companies would push back from a lot of businesses, went down the path of investing in pay parity surveys, looking at diversity metrics, diversity training, all critical but not enough. I don't think we've spent enough time on inclusion. Deloitte's done a lot of studies on this, as have Catalyst and PwC and BCG. Let me just give you Deloitte's statistics. You can look up the others. Organizations with inclusive cultures are 6 times more likely to be innovative, 8 times more likely to have overall better business outcomes. So I think it's time we really focus on inclusion. Making people feel valued. I don't think this is anything dramatic. They'll find better ways to innovate and contribute. So I don't claim to have all the answers when it comes to conclusion, but from my own perspective, I certainly remember being excluded. For example, I was the first woman on an executive board, or I may not have been invited on the fishing trip, which actually I didn't want to go anyway, or golfing. I'd rather watch the grass grow. But I'm also practical enough to understand that the relationships and connections at those things translate into the professional environment. So I've been fortunate to do a number of creative, transformative, strategic business model changes in my career. It wasn't a function of me individually. It was a function of me unlocking the power of a diverse team of people. I could give you numerous examples, but collectively, these teams built business models that were less costly, less risky, more efficient, while at the same time accommodating stakeholders, clients, and employees. I believe that success was a function of the diversity of the team and inclusion. I'll give you a small example. It's how I met Deborah. We did this, everybody was bringing work to India and China. We brought it down to the research triangle in the United States of America at 48% the cost of either China or India. So for me, inclusion is about how you deal with people. I don't always remember who did what or how they did it. I do remember how they made me feel. And I think that's an important thing to remember. So the bottom line is that being a woman in a male-dominated industry, I was able to be successful because I was able to unlock, in my opinion, innovation from diverse teams by investing in inclusion versus golf and fishing. I'd just like to share a couple of principles of mine in doing that, which you may find helpful, maybe not. Inclusion has to be constant and consistent. I'm not okay with 85% of the people are satisfied. Who are the 15% that aren't? Encourage and make it safe for everyone to have a voice and bring their authentic self to the table. It's particularly important for women, minorities, and junior people. As a leader, lead by example. Go out and publicly admit your mistakes to make it easy for others to admit theirs. Apologize when you have a bad day. I've had many of them. Constantly focus on the development of your people and approach it with flexibility and open-mindedness. Know who did the work versus who presents it. And hold others accountable for developing an inclusive environment. So in summary, leaders, of course, today are judged by outcomes. I believe that we should be judged by the succession plans we have in place, and it should hit our pocketbooks and wallets. And what I mean by that is we should be judged by how we develop people and how we've made our businesses sustainable without us. My measure of success for myself basically is the people that I've managed, developed, mentored, and formed meaningful relationships. Where were they when we first met? Where are they today? And where are they going? As Abraham Lincoln said, determine that a thing can and shall be done, and we'll figure out the way. I want to thank you all for having me here today. Wish you all the best as we all head off to celebrate our various respective holidays of light. I hope some of the things you've heard today spark some light or new ideas in each of you. I know it has in me, so thank you and happy holidays.